First contact surprise. The Arcadian survey vessel Stellar Wisdom emerged from hyperspace at the edge of an unremarkable yellow star system. High Commander Vexera stood on the bridge, her iridescent scales reflecting the dim starlight as she studied the holographic display before her. This was supposed to be a routine survey mission. Their scans had detected radio signals from the third planet, suggesting a civilization in its technological infancy. Initial scans complete, High Commander, reported Science Officer Krell, his tentacles dancing across the neural interface. The species appears to have achieved basic spaceflight capabilities, primitive chemical rockets, a handful of orbital stations, and, he paused, adjusting his sensors. That's odd. Vexera moved closer, her tail swishing with curiosity. Elaborate. Their development pattern doesn't match any known civilization progression model. They achieved powered flight barely 2 centuries ago, yet their understanding of quantum mechanics seems remarkably advanced. And their electromagnetic emissions. Krell's voice trailed off as he recalibrated his instruments for the third time. What about their emissions, Science Officer? Vexera's patience was wearing thin. They're too perfect, High Commander. The signal degradation, the broadcast patterns, it's as if they're deliberately designed to appear primitive. But the underlying complexity, Krell's scales paled slightly. It's like looking at a quantum computer pretending to be an abacus. Before Vexera could respond, the ship's emergency systems flared to life. A voice, clear and commanding, echoed through their communications array in perfect Arcadian. Arcadian vessel Stellar Wisdom, you have entered restricted space. Power down your engines and prepare for inspection. The bridge crew froze. Not only had they been detected despite their advanced stealth systems, but the supposedly primitive species knew their ship's name and could speak their language. Multiple vessels decloaking, the tactical officer reported, his voice tight with tension. Configuration unknown. Energy signatures, impossible. 3 ships materialize around the Stellar Wisdom, their designs unlike anything in the Arcadian database. They appeared deceptively simple at first glance, with clean lines and visible propulsion systems, but Vexera's trained eye caught details that sent a chill down her spine, gravitational lensing effects that shouldn't be possible, hull materials that seemed to bend reality itself. This is Admiral Helena Chen of the Earth Defense Fleet. The voice continued, now switching to Universal Standard. We've been expecting you, High Commander Vexera. Your recent activities in the Carina sector attracted our attention. Vexera's secondary heart nearly stopped. The Carina operation was classified at the highest levels, even within the Arcadian High Command. Only a handful knew of its existence. I don't understand, she managed. Our records show your species only achieved spaceflight within the last century. A soft chuckle came through the comm. Records can be deceiving, High Commander. Humanity learned long ago that the best way to protect something valuable is to hide it in plain sight. Your ship's quantum sensors are impressive, but they're scanning for what you expect to find. You see what we want you to see. As if to emphasize the point, the space around Earth rippled like a disturbed pond. Massive structures shimmered into existence, orbital rings, space elevators, and construction facilities that dwarfed anything in the Arcadian Empire. What they had taken for primitive satellites revealed themselves as nodes in a vast defense network that encompassed the entire solar system. Welcome to Earth, High Commander, Admiral Chen said, her voice carrying a weight of ages. We've watched your civilization grow from its first steps into space. We've guided you, subtly, away from paths that would lead to destruction. Now it's time for you to understand why. A new hologram appeared on the Stellar Wisdom's bridge, symbols and equations that made Vexera's scientific mind reel. They were elegant, beautiful, and utterly impossible for a young civilization to have discovered. These equations, Chen continued, were old when your ancestors first looked up at the stars. Humanity didn't develop this knowledge. We inherited it, along with a responsibility we've carried for longer than your civilization has existed. We are the guardians, protecting secrets that could either elevate a species to greatness or destroy them utterly. "But why reveal yourselves now?" Vexra asked, her voice barely a whisper. "Because, High Commander, your people are ready to learn the truth. What you discovered in the Carina sector wasn't just an ancient artifact. It was a test, one of many we've scattered across the galaxy, waiting for species mature enough to handle their implications. Your approach to studying it, your restraint in not immediately trying to exploit its power, showed us you might be ready." The Admiral's voice softened slightly. "Your ship will be escorted to Earth Station Alpha. There you'll begin to understand why we've maintained this masquerade for so long, and why the galaxy's younger civilizations need to be protected from knowledge they're not yet ready to handle. The question is, High Commander Vexra, are you prepared to learn what it truly means to be ancient?" As the stellar wisdom was guided toward Earth, Vexra watched the planet's defenses continue to reveal themselves, each layer more impressive than the last. Everything she thought she knew about technological progression, about humanity's place in the galaxy, was being rewritten before her eyes. And somehow, she suspected, this was only the beginning of the revelations to come. The supposedly primitive Earth had just revealed itself to be something far more significant, not just another emerging civilization, but the hidden guardian of secrets that could reshape the galaxy itself. And now, for reasons she had yet to understand, they had chosen the Arcadian Empire to share in that burden. As they approached Earth Station Alpha, a massive structure that seemed to bend space itself around its crystalline spires, Vexra couldn't help but wonder what other secrets lay hidden behind humanity's carefully crafted mask of mediocrity. The hidden legacy. Earth Station Alpha's interior defied Vexra's understanding of physics. Corridors seemed to stretch into infinity before curving back on themselves, and gravity shifted with subtle purpose rather than mechanical precision. Her escort, a human named Dr. Sarah Martinez, walked beside her with the easy confidence of someone born to the stars. "Your people's reaction is always the same," Sarah said, noting Vexra's wonder. "You expect to find primitive fusion reactors and clumsy artificial gravity. Instead, you find technology that shouldn't exist for another 1,000 years by your developmental models." They passed through a security field that tinkled against Vexra's scales. "The Carina artifact," she said, trying to focus on her mission's original purpose. "You said we passed a test. What exactly were you testing for?" Sarah stopped before a massive door that seemed to be made of liquid metal. "Restraint, primarily. Wisdom. The ability to recognize that not all discoveries should be immediately exploited." The door rippled open, revealing a vast chamber that took Vexra's breath away. Suspended in the center of the room was what appeared to be a small galaxy, its spiral arms rotating slowly. As Vexra watched, she realized it wasn't a hologram. Somehow, the humans had captured and miniaturized an actual galactic model, complete with living star systems. 3 million years ago, Sarah began, a civilization we call the predecessors faced a choice. They had mastered the fundamental forces of the universe. They could create and destroy stars, fold space like paper, and manipulate time itself. But their power had attracted attention. Other species wanted their knowledge, their technology. Wars erupted. Entire solar systems were weaponized. The miniature galaxy flickered, showing battles that made Vexra's hearts clench. Stars going nova as weapons, planets being shattered, space itself being torn apart. The predecessors realized their knowledge was too dangerous to be widely shared. But they also knew that eventually, other species would discover these secrets on their own. They needed guardians, a species that could guide the galaxy's younger civilizations, protecting them from knowledge they weren't ready to handle. They chose humans. Vexra asked, struggling to reconcile this with everything she thought she knew about Earth. Sarah smiled. Not exactly. They chose Earth, a planet perfectly positioned in its galaxy, with the right conditions to evolve intelligent life. They seeded our world with their legacy, encoded it into our very DNA. When humanity emerged, We didn't have to discover these principles. We remembered them, piece by piece, as our civilization developed. The display shifted, showing Earth's history, but not the version Vexera had studied. Behind the well-documented wars and technological advances, she saw subtle manipulations of scientific development across the galaxy, careful nudges that kept other civilizations from destroying themselves. Your people's work in the Carina sector, Sarah continued, caught our attention because you did something unprecedented. You found a predecessor quantum forge, a device capable of rewriting the laws of physics within a localized space. But instead of trying to activate it, you studied it, carefully, methodically. You asked questions about its purpose rather than immediately seeking its power. Vexera's scales rippled with surprise. The energy patterns we detected, we thought it might be a weapon. That's why we quarantined the sector. Exactly. Sarah's approval was evident. You showed wisdom, restraint, the qualities the predecessors believed were essential for any species to safely handle their legacy. That's why we revealed ourselves to you. The chamber's display shifted again, showing the true Earth, a world that had hidden its advancement behind a carefully constructed mask of technological adolescence. Orbital rings hummed with energy that could power entire civilizations. Hidden cities existed in dimensional pockets throughout the solar system. And beneath it all, Vexera sensed something else, a deeper purpose. The Arcadian Empire stands at a crossroads, Sarah explained. Your civilization is about to make discoveries that could lead to either transcendence or destruction. We've watched you for centuries, guiding your development from the shadows. Now we believe you're ready for more direct guidance. You want to share predecessor technology with us? Vexera asked, her scientific mind racing with possibilities. No, Sarah's response was firm. We want to teach you why such technology must be handled with care, why some discoveries must be protected rather than exploited. We're offering your people a chance to join us as guardians. The implications staggered Vexera. Our entire civilization would have to change. The very way we think about progress, about scientific advancement. Yes, Sarah agreed. That's why we tested you first. That's why we're showing you this now. Your people's response to this revelation will determine whether you're truly ready for the responsibility we're offering. As if to emphasize her point, the Galactic display zoomed in on a particular sector, the region where the Arcadian Empire was conducting its most secret research. Research that, Vexera now realized, had been subtly guided by human influence for generations. Your scientists are 6 months away from discovering dimensional folding, Sarah said quietly. 2 years from cracking quantum consciousness, freed from developing temporal manipulation theory. Each of these discoveries could destroy your civilization if handled incorrectly. The question is, High Commander Vexera, are your people ready to learn how to be not just users of advanced technology, but responsible guardians of it? The weight of the question settled over Vexera like a physical force. She understood now why humans had hidden their true nature for so long. The power they protected wasn't just technology. It was the wisdom to know when not to use it. And now they were offering to share that wisdom with her people. The future of the Arcadian Empire would depend on how they responded to this opportunity. As Vexera watched the Galactic display, she realized they weren't just being offered advanced technology. They were being offered a chance to help shape the destiny of countless civilizations. The question was, were they ready for such responsibility? The Starforge awakens. The emergency alert shattered the contemplative silence of Earth Station Alpha. Red warning lights pulsed through the dimensional corridors as Admiral Chen's voice echoed through the station. All personnel to emergency stations. This is not a drill. Vexera followed Sarah through corridors that seemed to fold through impossible spaces, eventually emerging in a vast command center. The walls were alive with holographic displays, showing a situation that made her scales pale. A massive stellar anomaly was forming in the Orion sector, threatening dozens of inhabited systems. Report, Admiral Chen commanded, her presence dominating the room despite her species' small stature. A young human officer, his hands dancing across an interface that seemed to respond to thought itself, spoke quickly. The Meridian Collective's attempt to create artificial wormholes has destabilized their local spacetime. The cascade effect is spreading. Preliminary models suggest total stellar collapse of the sector within 48 hours. Vexra's heart nearly stopped. The Meridian Collective, one of the galaxy's most technologically advanced civilizations, had apparently discovered something they weren't ready for. Now their ambition threatened billions of lives. They found one of the predecessor artifacts, Sarah explained quietly to Vexra, one we hadn't managed to secure yet. They tried to activate it without understanding its true purpose. Admiral Chen's face was grim. We have no choice. Initiate Protocol Omega. Activate the Starforge. The command center erupted into activity. Hidden panels in the station's walls revealed themselves, displaying ancient symbols that pulsed with their own inner light. Vexra watched in amazement as the entire station seemed to transform, revealing its true nature as something far more ancient and powerful than she had imagined. The Starforge, Sarah explained as they moved to a new observation deck, is why we chose the Sol system as our base of operations. It's not just a stellar engineering facility. It's the predecessor's ultimate tool for maintaining cosmic balance. Through the quantum blast viewport, Vexra watched as the asteroid belt between Mars and Jupiter began to move. What she had taken for simple space rocks revealed themselves as components of a vast machine that had laid dormant for millions of years. The asteroids shifted, aligned, and began to pulse with energy that her sensors couldn't even begin to categorize. We've spent centuries preparing for this moment, Admiral Chen said, joining them at the viewport. Every primitive satellite we launched, every piece of space debris we left in orbit, they were all components of a vast network designed to channel the star-forged power. The space between the asteroids began to glow with impossible colors. Energy patterns that shouldn't exist in normal spacetime danced between the transformed rocks, forming connections that hurt Vexra's eyes to look at directly. The Meridian Collective thought they could create artificial wormholes, Sarah continued. What they actually did was crack the quantum framework of their local spacetime. The damage is spreading exponentially. Without intervention, it will trigger a cascade failure that could destabilize this entire arm of the galaxy. Vexra watched in awe as the Starforge fully awakened. The assembled asteroids now formed a vast geometric pattern that somehow existed in more dimensions than should be possible. Energy began to flow from Sol itself, channeled through the ancient machine in ways that defied physics as she understood it. This is why we hide, Admiral Chen said softly. This power, this responsibility. It's too much for any young civilization to handle safely. We are not Earth's first civilization, High Commander. We are its last, the final inheritors of the predecessor's legacy, chosen and shaped over millions of years to be ready for moments exactly like this. The Starforge reached full power, and Vexra felt reality itself tremble. Through the quantum blast, she watched as a beam of focused probability, pure possibility made manifest, lanced out toward the Orient sector. The energy signature was unlike anything she had ever seen, not destroying or creating, but rewriting the very laws of physics within the affected space. We're not just repairing the damage, Sarah explained, seeing Vexra's confusion. We're rewriting local spacetime to make it impossible for such damage to occur again. The laws of physics themselves will be subtly different in that sector, just enough to prevent anyone from making the same mistake. The operation took hours, during which Vexra watched humanity's true capabilities unveiled. The Starforge wasn't just a machine. It was a key to understanding how reality itself worked. Through it, humans demonstrated mastery over forces that her people hadn't even discovered yet. As the crisis subsided and the Starforge began to power down, Admiral Chen turned to Vexra. Now you understand another piece of why we chose to reveal ourselves to your people. The galaxy is entering a dangerous phase. More and more civilizations are discovering fragments of predecessor technology. We need allies who understand the importance of restraint, who can help us prevent disasters like this from happening. Vexera watched as the asteroid belt resumed its seemingly natural configuration, once again hiding one of the most powerful devices she had ever witnessed. "How do you bear it?" she asked finally. "The responsibility of having such power and choosing not to use it." "That," Sarah said with a gentle smile, "is exactly the kind of question that convinced us your people might be ready to help us carry this burden. The power itself is nothing compared to the wisdom needed to know when not to use it." As the emergency crews began their standard restoration procedures, Vexera realized that everything she had seen, from the Starforge itself to humanity's response to the crisis, had been another test. The humans weren't just showing off their capabilities, they were demonstrating the true meaning of being guardians of ancient knowledge. The question now was, how would the Arcadian Empire respond to this demonstration of power and to the responsibility that came with it? The trial of ages. The Galactic Council's emergency session chamber hung in neutral space, its crystalline structure reflecting the light of 1,000 suns. Representatives from over 300 spacefaring civilizations had gathered, drawn by news of the Orion incident and humanity's dramatic revelation of their true nature. High Commander Vexera stood with the Earth delegation, her presence a testament to the Arcadian Empire's support for humanity. Admiral Chen and Sarah Martinez flanked her, their expressions carefully neutral as accusations flew across the chamber. "The humans have deceived us all," thundered Representative Zix of the Meridian Collective, his energy form flickering with anger. "They possess technology that could have advanced our civilization by centuries, yet they hoarded it, watching from the shadows as we struggled." Admiral Chen stepped forward, her quiet voice somehow carrying more weight than Zix's outburst. "We watched, yes. We watched as your people ignored warnings about quantum stability. We watched as you dismissed the importance of ethical constraints in your research. And when your experiments threatened to destroy an entire sector of space, we acted to save billions of lives." The chamber erupted in overlapping arguments. Some species supported the Meridian's outrage, while others defended Earth's actions. Through it all, Sarah stood calmly, waiting for the perfect moment to speak. "Honored representatives," she began when the chaos subsided, "let me tell you a story about responsibility. 3 million years ago, the predecessors faced the same choice we face today. They had power beyond imagination, but they also had wisdom. They understood that knowledge without wisdom is more dangerous than ignorance." The chamber's displays activated, showing the history that humanity had kept hidden for so long. The rise and fall of civilizations, the catastrophic wars fought over advanced technology, and the predecessors' final decision to entrust their legacy to a carefully chosen inheritor species. "Earth was not their first choice," Sarah continued. "We were their last. For millions of years, they shaped our evolution, encoded their knowledge into our very beings. When we finally achieved consciousness as a species, we didn't have to discover their technologies. We had to remember why they chose to hide them." Vexera stepped forward, her scales reflecting the chamber's light. "My people encountered one of the predecessors' quantum forges. We could have tried to activate it, to seize its power for ourselves. Instead, we studied it, tried to understand its purpose. That decision proved we might be ready for the truth." "And who gave you the right to make these decisions for all of us?" demanded another representative. "To judge which civilizations are ready for advanced knowledge. The same force that gives you the right to develop weapons that could destroy entire star systems," Admiral Chen responded coolly. "The same authority that lets you experiment with forces that could unravel space-time itself. We didn't seize this responsibility. We inherited it, along with the wisdom to understand its weight." The chamber fell silent as new information appeared on the displays. Detailed records of how humanity had subtly guided other civilizations away from catastrophic discoveries, prevented wars that could have destroyed entire sectors, and preserved knowledge that could either elevate or destroy any species that found it. "We reveal ourselves now," Sarah explained, "because the galaxy has reached a tipping point. Too many civilizations are on the verge of discovering principles they're not ready to handle. The Meridian incident was just the beginning. We need allies who understand that power must be tempered by wisdom. And if we reject your authority, asked a crystalline being from the outer rim, if we demand you share all your knowledge now. Admiral Chen's smile was sad but determined. Then you prove exactly why we've hidden it for so long. This isn't about authority. It's about responsibility. We're not asking for your permission to be guardians. We're inviting those who understand the importance of our role to join us in protecting all of us from our own worst impulses. The debate raged for days. Species argued, threatened, and eventually began to understand. Vexra watched as humanity laid bare their centuries of secret stewardship, showing both their power and their restraint. They had possessed the ability to dominate the galaxy at any time, yet they had chosen to guide and protect instead. Finally, the Council reached its decision. Earth would be officially recognized as the inheritors of the predecessor legacy, with the Arcadian Empire as their first officially acknowledged partners in this guardianship. Other civilizations would be evaluated over time, invited to share the responsibility when they proved ready. As the session concluded, Vexra approached Admiral Chen. "They're still afraid of you," she observed, "of what you could do with your power." "Good," Chen replied quietly. "Fear of power is the beginning of wisdom, but they're also beginning to understand something more important, the difference between having power and knowing when not to use it." Sarah joined them, her expression thoughtful. "The real trial isn't over. Every day, we face the temptation to use our knowledge to solve all the galaxy's problems. Every day, we choose restraint over convenience, guidance over control. And now my people will share that burden," Vexra said, understanding at last the true weight of what humanity had offered them. "Yes," Admiral Chen confirmed. "Welcome to the longest trial in the galaxy's history. The daily choice to protect rather than dominate, to guide rather than control. The trial of being a guardian." Heritage of the Stars. 1 year after the Galactic Council's historic decision, Earth Station Alpha had transformed into something unprecedented, the first joint human-Arcadian training facility for future guardians. Vexra stood in the Quantum Observatory, watching as a new class of students, both human and Arcadian, learned to manipulate forces that most civilizations didn't know existed. "It's still strange," she said to Sarah, who had become both colleague and friend over the past year. "Seeing our peoples working together so naturally, sharing knowledge that could reshape the universe itself." Sarah smiled, her hand resting on a control panel that pulsed with impossible colors. "That's exactly what the predecessors hoped for. Not just guardians, but collaboration between species who understand the weight of this responsibility." The observatory's displays shifted, showing a real-time map of the galaxy. Countless points of light represented civilizations at various stages of development. Some glowed brightly with technological advancement, while others were just beginning to reach for the stars. "We've received word from the Centauri expedition," Admiral Chen announced, entering the observatory. "They've found another cache of predecessor technology. This one's different. It appears to be some kind of message." The main display activated, showing symbols that made Vexra's scales tingle with recognition. They were similar to the ones found in the Quantum Forge, but these told a story she hadn't expected. "They weren't just looking for guardians," Sarah translated, her eyes widening. "They were trying to create a network of civilizations that could work together. The humans, the Arcadians, we're not meant to be just protectors. We're meant to be teachers." The message unfolded before them, revealing the predecessors' true vision. They hadn't hidden their technology simply to prevent its misuse. They had created an elaborate system of tests and trials designed to identify species capable of understanding the fundamental truth about advanced technology, that its greatest value lay not in its use, but in the wisdom to know when and how to share it. "Look at this," Vexra said, pointing to a sequence that seemed familiar. "These energy patterns, they match the quantum signatures we detected in the Carina sector. Every artifact we found, every test we've passed. They were all connected. Admiral Chen nodded. The predecessors didn't want successors who would simply inherit their power. They wanted civilizations that would understand why they chose to hide it in the first place. Every test, every trial, was designed to teach that lesson. The observatory filled with new data as the message continued to unfold. The predecessors had seeded the galaxy with their technology, but they had done so in a way that required cooperation and understanding to access. No single civilization could unlock all the secrets alone. It required the combined wisdom of multiple species working together. That's why you revealed yourselves to us, Vexra realized. Not just because we passed the test with the quantum forge, but because you needed partners who understood the importance of restraint. Yes, Sarah confirmed, but it's more than that. The predecessors believed that true advancement could only come through cooperation between different species, each bringing their own perspective and wisdom to the challenge of wielding advanced technology responsibly. As if to emphasize this point, alarms began sounding throughout the station. A new situation was developing in the Sagittarius sector. Another civilization on the verge of a breakthrough that could either elevate or destroy them. This is what it means to be guardians, Admiral Chen said, watching as both human and Arcadian crews responded to the crisis with practiced efficiency. Not just protecting knowledge, but knowing when and how to share it. Each civilization we guide, each species we help to understand these principles, brings us closer to the predecessor's ultimate goal. Which is, Vexra asked, though she was beginning to understand, a galaxy where advanced technology serves wisdom rather than power, Sarah explained. Where civilizations rise not by dominating others, but by learning to work together. The predecessors didn't want us to simply preserve their legacy. They wanted us to build something new with it. The station hummed with activity as ships prepared to depart for the Sagittarius sector. This time, they wouldn't be going just to prevent a disaster. They would be going to evaluate, to teach, and perhaps to welcome new partners in their ancient mission. We are all children of the stars, Admiral Chen said, watching the departing ships. The predecessors understood that. They knew that true advancement could only come when we learned to share not just knowledge, but wisdom. That's the real heritage they left us, not the power to reshape reality, but the understanding that we must do so together. As Vexra watched the cooperative effort unfold before her, she finally understood the full scope of what humanity had offered her people. The Arcadians hadn't just been invited to share in guarding ancient secrets, they had been invited to help build a future where such secrets wouldn't need to be hidden. The predecessor's legacy wasn't just about power or technology. It was about wisdom, cooperation, and the understanding that the greatest achievements come not from individual advancement, but from species learning to rise together. As human and Arcadian ships jumped into hyperspace side by side, they carried with them not just the power to protect the galaxy, but the wisdom to help it grow. The true heritage of the stars, it seemed, was not in the technology that could reshape them, but in the connections they inspired between those who sought to understand them. And in that understanding lay the seeds of a future greater than any single civilization could achieve alone.